Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Authorities in Mexico say they've deployed members of their army, National Guard, and state police to investigate. The victims all left their community at the same time in 3 separate cars. Some were traveling back to the United States, some to the neighboring town of LeBaron for a wedding, when suddenly they were struck by a hail of gunfire so severe that one of the cars exploded.
Yes. Children dead. Not just, what? No. Children dead. 9 women and children dead. Ambushed. Killed. Including twin 6-7-month-old. Now, this area where this took place, Sinaloa cartel, right there. Bad news. Very, very bad news. This group of people, so they're Mormons. They live there. They lived there for a very long time. We're not talking about, they lived there off and on for, they have lived there for decades and decades, generation after generation. They have lived there. You had 3 cars, 9 people dead, women and children. Some of them burned alive. Burned alive. Think about that for a second. This is the grandfather who took video right after it happened.
This is for the record. Nita and 4 of my grandchildren are burnt and shot up.
In a video posted to Facebook, you can see the aftermath of the attack, the scorched SUV that apparently contained the burnt bodies of Maria Ronita Miller and 4 of her 7 children. It's unclear if they were specifically targeted. The victims reportedly all belong to a decades-old Mormon community based in northern Mexico. The youngest victims were twin babies, just 7 months old. Some of the children miraculously survived the ambush but sustained gunshot wounds. They were found by family members. Relatives say 5 remain in the hospital.
Yeah, they're here in Phoenix. I'll tell you this right now. This makes people in middle America go, ooh, what's going on? I know it was in Mexico, but what happened? Yes, it was an accident as far as the cartels are. They weren't saying, you know what we got to do, guys? We got to go get those Mormons. They lived there peacefully. Everybody gave each other a wide berth. They did their thing. They'd come back to America when they needed to, back and forth. They were joint U.S. and Mexican citizens. They weren't the ones who were targeted. And I was telling producer Phil, I can pretty much guarantee you the people that did this are dead. And the reason is you brought heat upon us, which we don't need. You killed women and children. You killed women and children. Now you got the president tweeting, hey, do you need any military assistance? Should we come down? Yeah, ugly, to say the least. Violent, reprehensible. We can go into it all day long. I want people to get this. And I just spoke a little while ago to Congressman Andy Biggs. And we were talking about the size of the cartels. We worry, and we should keep our eye on the prize of what's going on in places where there's ISIS and you know, when you've got, you know, from Yemen to Syria to Baghdad and beyond, we need to be aware. What's across our border, which for some of us is a mere hour away. For some people, it's less than that. And for other people, you guys are in the center of the country or in certain areas where you just don't really feel it. What is there is far more terrifying than ISIS. What they're capable of doing, the Sinaloa cartel is capable of doing, Los Zetas is capable of doing, is absolutely frightening. 2 weeks ago, Culiacan, Mexico, a gun battle breaks out. They take El Chapo's oldest son and youngest son into custody. The oldest son and his bodyguards fight, and basically they break him out. He then regroups and takes on the army with his group because they have his little brother They surround the army. The army is forced to essentially give up and turn him over to his brother. We're not talking about some backwards little town. About 1 million people live there. It is a narco state, as is much of Mexico along the border. And when something like this happens, you bet your candy ass it's going to be something. You bet. Because this is the type of thing where people say, ooh, we may need to do something down there. People that kept out of it or thought, oh, I don't like Trump's language. They're now saying, oh, what happened there? Oh, we can't have that. No, we can't have that. Where I live, a little rural, not going to lie to you guys. I live in a little rural area. I can come out and I make a right and I can get on the freeway, right? So you can do that. 5 minutes, you're on the freeway heading to Phoenix. I make a left. I can be in Rocky Point. Beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. Fishing resort, everything. It's on the Gulf of California. It's gorgeous like you couldn't believe. You couldn't pay me to go there. You couldn't. You couldn't do it. Won't do it. And it's beautiful and it's amazing. And I'm around a lot of people who used to go there all the time. And more they're saying, no chance. The hugs, not bullets thing isn't working. Mexico's becoming a narco state. And once the biggest fear that the cartels have is something spills over here on our soil that is so big, that is so nasty, that people look around and say to themselves, we're going to have to do something. We're going to have to lock up the border. Maybe Trump was right. Maybe we're going to have to. See, the thing is with drugs, somebody takes drugs and dies, which is happening all the time. Drugs coming from where? South of the border. We kind of say, well, you shouldn't have been taking drugs. We're kind of like, I mean, it's become different now because of opioids, and we think, well, you're taking those because you got started on opioids, and it's, let's be real, it's kind of a white thing. Once it got into the suburbs, moved from the urban areas to the suburbs, people are like, oh my God. But the reality is that's killing more and more. If something truly happened, and I don't know if this is it as a wake-up call, but people in Middle America talking about this in a way that they haven't been before. We all know it's there. We all understand what happens there, but we don't quite get it. Seeing these pictures puts a face on it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You feel free to tweet at me. Love, hate, everything in between. Gordon Sondland, you guys remember him? This whole big thing with that EU ambassador, Well, he had a little surprise today for the Republicans and the president.
According to the deposition transcript for EU Ambassador Gordon Sondland, Sondland amended his testimony this week to say that he did tell a Ukrainian official that aid to Ukraine would be contingent on whether Ukraine would publicly announce it was investigating the president's political opponents. Sondland had previously testified he was unaware of any quid pro quo.
Yeah. So what does that mean? Well, it depends, right? It depends. Talk to Lindsey Graham.
It doesn't matter whether he testifies in public or not. If the person being threatened with withholding the aid, if they say I wasn't threatened, I don't care what any bureaucrat says.
Yeah, and I understand that. So if the person that quote unquote was being threatened, meaning Zelensky and the Ukrainian people, right? If the Ukrainian president says, I wasn't being threatened, none of that stuff, then it's tough. It's tough to try to figure something out with that. Because, in a sense, there wasn't anything there. They've moved the ball on more than a few occasions, and that's why a lot of people kind of had this wary look when it comes to this stuff. And are we ready to go through something like this right before an election and all of these things? I think there's a lot of people out there that are kind of, looking at it but not paying too close of attention till it gets to the point where, boom, right? It gets to the point where we have the Cliff Note version. It's in front of the American people, and there will be a decision of whether or not the president stays or goes. But somebody like Gordon Sondland moving in and saying something like this, does it look good for the president? No. But at the same time, you've had somebody who's flipped, and you ask yourself, Why are you doing this? Did you lie on purpose? Were you threatened to lie? Did you think you were protecting the president? There's a lot of questions you can ask, right? But now you've flipped, so how can we know you're trustable? Can I trust you? Maybe you're trustable. Maybe you're not trustable. Made that word up, but I like it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Here's your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Lots of elections going on across the country tonight. Kentucky, big election there. Governor. Mississippi, another election there. Governor. Virginia will probably be a place where there will probably be some decent stuff for the Democrats, but it could be a long night in the other places. A lot of people are looking at this. Yes, it is off-year election, but you've got two people who've kind of really embraced Trump, including Bevins, who's running in Kentucky, and he had Trump there last night. So is there a referendum here? Is there not? Is he going to sweep to victory? There's that power of Trump that can both help and hurt depending on the time of the year, which way the wind's blowing. So as we moved away from the midterms and into this, a lot of people look around to see what that looks like tonight. Because if he wins handily and in Mississippi, the GOP candidate wins handily, you start looking around and saying, okay, well, this is kind of going in a way that a lot of people thought it was going to go, which doesn't bode well, I think, for the Democrats. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show, Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Hope you are doing well. Holidays approaching. I can see them over there. Right now, you're thinking to yourself, I got to save some extra cash. What am I going to do? I got to wait for you. Get a little closer. Consolidate your high interest card balances with my friends at Lightstream. What are you thinking? 20%. The average APR is 20%. What is wrong with you? You're going to get a rate as low as 5.95% APR with autopay. No fees. How many fees? No fees. How many fees? None. None. And it's fixed. Gotta love that. So what are you waiting for? Oh, you're waiting for me to tell you how you can even save more money? Well, I'm going to do that. Special interest rate discount. Boom. I'm dropping the mic, but I didn't really fall because it's on a thing. All you have to do is go to lightstream.com/Benson. That's lightstream.com/Benson. Subject to credit approval. Rate includes 0.50% autopay discount. Terms and conditions apply. Offer subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/Benson for more information. Chad Benson Show.
Take a fake news break. Check out the really important news of the day at our website, ChadBensonShow.com. Once there, click on Chad's free podcast and get real. The Chad Benson Show, where truth and the American way live. Print free.
How many of you think that Donald Trump should be impeached? 4, maybe 5.
We're seeing the evidence in real time almost.
It looks like a lot of abuse of power.
I think he's violated the law.
This independent voter who didn't vote for Trump in 2016 isn't quite ready to say Trump broke the law.
And I'm embarrassed that he's our president, but I'm not a lawyer, and I don't know if those things rise to the level of high crimes.
Yeah, you got to prove it. Got to prove it. And you got to prove it to the point where you get people who aren't on your political team, who aren't in your political tribe, who much like you believe everything is political based on political beliefs, to go against those things. That's a tough prove. It is. It's absolutely a tough prove. I don't know if they have anything. Gordon Sondland changing his mind, and Volker and all these people. You start bringing in names, and, you know, this guy wants to do that, and this person. I'm going to be honest with you guys. At this point in time, whether or not you believe he did or didn't do anything, it's only going to matter as far as removing him. Remember, it's not just about impeaching him. I think people think because he's impeached that he goes away. No. There's a trial in the Senate. They will decide whether he stays or goes. You need 15 Republicans to go, I'm going to jump on your side. Or 17 Republicans, actually. So it's 48. So you need 17 Republicans. You need 65 total to jump ship. You see those? Anybody? You see anybody over there? Maybe Mitt Romney has sounded some alarms. But do you see anybody else is ready to go, I'm out of here? I don't think so. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Okay, so producer Anthony's like, he's going, here's the best movies of the year. And he's like reading them off. And we've like heard of like two of them. And he's like, Honeyland. I'm like, oh, that's that Shia LaBeouf movie. He's like, no, this is a different movie. I just got to say, does this sound interesting at all? This is NPR. A woman, get ready for this. It's documentary. You guys on the edge of your seats? Utilizes ancient beekeeping traditions to cultivate honey in the mountains of Macedonia when a neighboring family tries to do the same, and it becomes a source of tension as they disregard her wisdom and advice. Oh, man. That or impeachment trials. What's the third? Root canal. I'll take that one, Bob. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. I'll tell you what, Car Shield. The Wounded Paw. I'm going to do Wounded Paw here because Wounded Paw is amazing. I got so many things I'm doing here. I don't even know. Wounded Paw is the best of the best of the best. I will tell you, for all the stuff I do, I get more people to hit me up about Wounded Paw and taking shelter dogs, training them to be service dogs, and getting them to the men and women who serve our country in different ways, from veterans to first responders and their families. It is the most amazing thing. And I ask you guys this. Just go to woundedpawproject.org. Look for yourself at what they're doing. Look for yourself at the amazing works they're doing. It is incredible. It really is. Their motto is to save a paw is to save a life. Check it out. They need anything you have. Extra car, truck, RV, even a boat's a vehicle for change. Great tax-deductible gift. They do take cash as well. Go to woundedpawproject.org, woundedpawproject.org, or call 844-678-4729, or woundedpawproject.org. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson, Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The family seems to think that they may have been mistaken for somebody who was traveling along that same route. They were traveling in Suburbans, but we don't know. The government was asked about that. They don't know either. This happened just 100 miles south of the Arizona border. These are really lucrative routes for some of these cartels, and we know that they're fighting over those routes. And so it's possible that even though they lived in the area and knew the area very well, they may have just been in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, you think? So you got 9 women and children dead. 9 women and children dead, 5 others wounded. The youngest, 6-month twins. In an area in Mexico, just south of Douglas, Arizona, Sinaloa area where the cartel operates, that they've lived for decades upon decades. Upon decades. This is not a group of people that moved there last week or didn't. No, the families in this little enclave of Mormons have been there for a very long time. They knew what was going on. The cartels knew who they were. Probably give each other a very wide berth. Whoever did this, I'm sure it's paid the price for it already, because the heat that it's bringing on with America starting to go, what's happening over there? And by that, I mean middle America, flyover America. This is not a tourist that got caught up in a shootout in Cancun. This is a slaughter of children. That changes the game big time. They've got an issue in Mexico. We've known it forever. Just across the south of our border is a group, 2 groups, who are unlike any other. operating worldwide. Terrorist organization, a criminal faction that kills on a daily basis so many people, and we're not even talking about the drugs.
These cartels really operate with impunity in large parts of Mexico. And we've seen the death toll spiral throughout that country, ordinary Mexicans getting caught up in the violence. And so this new government has actually tried a little bit more of a hands-off approach where they don't want this bloodshed in the streets, but it's obviously controversial because the death toll continues to climb.
Culiacan, 2 weeks ago. Oh, we want it off the street. Million people. A million people. A city. A city that is big. 1 million people. Right? Think about a 40-minute shootout in Indianapolis, Orlando, between drug cartels or a terrorist organization and our military and police. Think about that. It is awful. This is going to resonate with some people. You watch. You watch. Trump's already saying, no, we need help. Maybe we need a little help. And the hands-off approach is real, right? It's a very real approach they're taking. Their whole thing is that we're going to work mostly on hugs, if you will, not bullets. We're going to basically give you a little bit of a wide berth, let you do your thing. He wants a non-confrontational strategy. That is Obrador, who is the president. Not going to work. You better decide right now, do you want your country, or are you willing to give up a good portion of it and keep places like Mexico City and a few other things? 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. I do like hearing. But this is an interesting story. I want to change and pivot to another thing. And I find this to be interesting. So I talked about this earlier, and somebody tweeted in about it, but it's about body shaming. And a TV news anchor, Nina Harrelson, she's called out a body shamer who essentially emailed her and said, "You look mighty big on TV." And I'm like, that's it's awful. She wrote and said, FYI, and she posted something. FYI, journalists are not models. The Weekend anchor and reporter wrote, "I can assure you none of us want to hear your opinions on our bodies. We are not your eye candy." I'm going to say something. The reality is we live in a world of looks. Right? There's a big portion of that. That's true. I mean, it's not a bunch of ugly people on television. Right? It's just not. I mean, look, do I think it's weird that somebody would take their time to email another human being to say, "Hey, I don't know you. I've never met you. You look fat"? I find that to be an a-hole move. Absolutely. But to say that we're not eye candy or not this, yes. In some ways you are. It sounds horrible, but that's the reality of the world that we live in. There's a reason gyms are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. People are looking for a better way to keep thin, keep fit, look good. That's the fact. Is it weird and wrong that people do stuff like this? Yes, it is. But don't say that, oh, we're not here for your eye candy. We're not here for this, that, and the other. That's baloney. You know that and I know that. Right? Two people come in, right? Man or woman. Super qualified, both of them identical almost in resume. One of them's fat-ish, maybe not put together well, like a 5 out of 10. The other one's a 9. Maybe a 10. Who's getting hired most of the time? Producer Phil, what do you think the tiebreaker is in that?
Oh, if I was the betting man, I don't know, 8, 9.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. That's the truth. In my business, radio, nobody's supposed to see us. What do people do now? If you want a job in this business, the first thing they want to see is your social media, and they want you to send a headshot. Why? Because long gone are the days where looks don't matter because you're only behind a microphone. That is the reality of it. Same thing goes for news people. I don't see too many 500-pound news people. I don't. It's a horrible truth, but it is the truth. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at me. Love, hate. Somebody said, it's funny that you talk about that, Chad, and then you want people to text you because you find it weird. I said, yeah, because we could talk about politics and issues, and you can have a position somewhere in something, or somebody can have a position over here. You may be emotional about something, and you could want to say, well, let me tell you a different thing, or you want to go up against my position, or you want to agree with me. That's one thing. To arbitrarily email somebody to say you look fat that's the weird thing. Like, I don't even get that. To arbitrarily send something like that or to say something like that. Not that you were saying, I didn't like that report you did, or maybe you didn't get the report right, or whatever. To just arbitrarily send something that says it has nothing to do, you've never met you, I think you're fat. That's just being, again, an a-hole.
Do you recommend or endorse things on social media?
The Federal Trade Commission has long had rules for proper disclosure of sponsored content, but the agency has recently been looking at the disclosures social media influencers have been making or not making in their content. A new video released on Twitter spelling out the rules.
Whenever you endorse a product, you have to tell people if you have a relationship with the brand.
The FTC telling influencers to place disclosures in the message itself and not at the end of posts, videos, or anywhere that requires a person to click more.
Yeah, and that's going to be, look, they're trying, it's so weird, right? Because whether the media social media world wants to talk about it or not, influencers are big, right? You know, somebody's got to, you think about it, somebody has an audience of 1 million to 2 million people, and their reach at any given time for a post may be that 1 million or 2 million, but the reality is, let's say they do a live thing, it may be 20,000, maybe 50,000. That's a big reach. That's a massive reach. And you want influencers, right? I mean, look what happened when the Kardashians and the Jenners said, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to use Instagram anymore. Their stock tumbled, and people are like, where else are we going? Where are you going? They want to keep them, and it's that weird world of trying to jockey between, do I stay, do I go, how do I make this work? But then people feel bad about who they are because they have this fake life that these other people are living that they can't leave, that's unrealistic. But at the same time, we also want them to stick around because they do bring people here. Ugh. But if you're endorsing a product, you should say, look, I'm endorsing the product. And if you say, look, I have no relationship with it whatsoever, I just like the product. You know, and that's how a lot of times things start out. You're like, hey, I love this product. It's amazing. And these people are influencers. And they may say, I love this product. I don't have any, endorsement with them whatsoever. Well, there you go. But once you become endorsed, just like television, every time it's a paid spokesperson, not actors. Actors. Yeah, we want to know, right? Because we want to know the reality is, why do we want to know? We want to know who to sue. When this goes south, who do I sue? That's all I want to know. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what to me was easily the greatest call in NFL history for the year of 2019.
The other way, and so is it. There's a black cat has taken the field. A black cat is running from the 20 to the near side, the 10. From the 39 in Dallas, here's a short throw. Now,
I want you to listen. This is Kevin Harlan. Westwood won last night. Cowboys, Giants, NFC East battle. Listen to him. This is all one play. He's going from talking about the cat being on the field on the other side of the field at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey to the other side of the field where there's a snap going on with the Cowboys in possession.
To the near side, the 10. From the 39 in Dallas, here's a short throw down the middle, caught by Ingram. Caught at the 35, went to the 30. Now the cat running the other way, and so is Ingram at the 30 to the 25 to the 24-yard line of the Dallas Cowboys.
So that all happened in one take. So it goes on for about 20, 30 seconds, and then people are looking around going, what the hell's happening here? When the cat does the cat thing. But listen to how he throws the sponsor in there, because every time, whenever you listen to these things, there is it's a sponsorship for everything, as we talk about sponsors. So you get to whatever it is, right? It's the such and such red zone. They have their sponsor. The cat's in there.
Now he is sitting and looking. Now he's at the 5. He's
Who brought the
walking.
cat?
He's walking to the 3. He's at the 2. And the cat is in the CDW red zone. CDW, people who get it now, a policeman, a state trooper has come on the field, and the cat runs into the end zone. That is a touchdown.
I could listen to that all day. I love Kevin Harlan. When I drive back and forth from San Diego on Sundays, I will listen to the Westwood One stuff, and I always try to find the game that Kevin Harlan's on, because he's just awesome. He is. That was but I love how the cat got into the CDW red zone. CDW. For people who want to get it done. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Speaking of that, we are in the red zone, the Chad Benson Show red zone, and you're in there with the Car Shield. Chad Benson Show red zone. Oh, boom, Chad, drop the mic. Wow. Car Shield's amazing, right? I drive, and I don't drive anywhere without it. It's nice to know that somebody has my back. I don't know anything about cars outside of I put the key in here, I go over there, change some oil, but outside of that, I change a tire, but I'm not doing anything. And nowadays, God knows, you need to be a coder as well as a mechanic. But I know this, I get 24/7 roadside assistance, a rental car for free while my car's in the shop with the Car Shield, and the shop is the shop I choose. They get them paid directly, I pay a deductible. That sounds like a win. You know, it's 7 years now is what they're doing for car loans. 7 years? Oh, you don't want that. Get Car Shield. You like your car, right? Your warranty's probably run out. You may never had a warranty. Well, now what? What do you have? You have the ultimate in vehicle protection like I do. It's Car Shield. Call them today. 800-CAR-6000. Mention code Benson. Or visit carshield.com and use code Benson. That saves you 10%. It's 800-CAR-6000 or carshield.com. Code Benson, either one of those saves you 10%. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
I'm so tired. I'm exhausted.
If you're part of the politically exhausted majority, don't fear. Your time to be validated and rejuvenated is here. Wake up. It's the Chad Benson Show.
If it were today, I don't think there's any question it would not lead to a removal.
Who was that? Does anybody know who that guy is? Anyone? Harry Potter. You're right. No, that wasn't. It's Mitch McConnell. So listen to what he said again. What do you think he's talking about?
If it were today, I don't think there's any question it would not lead to a removal.
That's the president. Impeachment, different than removal. Impeachment is going to happen. Removal, by the sounds of that, but he did say something. If it were today. If it were today. There's no doubt in his mind he's not removing that guy. That's not me. People send horrible text messages like it's me that said that. No. That's Mitch McConnell. If there was a vote today, they're not removing the president. He'll be impeached, but he won't be removed. Two different things. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at me. Martin Scorsese still pissed off.
Last month, Martin Scorsese drew cheers and boos when he said Marvel movies were not cinema. And now he's expanding on that quote. In an op-ed for the New York Times, he writes that many of the people making franchise films are talented artists, but the films lack key elements that define cinema. In his eyes, he says what's not there is revelation, mystery, or genuine emotional danger. Nothing is at risk, he writes. The films are market researched, audience tested, and modified until they're ready for consumption. But the biggest danger, he says, is that franchise movies are squeezing true cinema out of theaters, and he finds that sad.
Yeah, but that's rich coming from him. Netflix gave him, I don't know how much. I mean, the rumor is for him to do this movie, The Irishman, that they paid him between, for the movie itself, like $100 to $150 million. And you're squeezing movies out It played in a few small limited release runs in like New York and LA and Chicago, I guess. May expand, but it's Netflix then. So don't talk about, no, don't talk about that. That's a totally different thing. You've lost the plot there, right? And those movies do have some of that. But let's also talk about the fact that there's no true superhero movies where, like, did you guys hear the true story of Superman? And then they tell you a story about how a guy came here from another planet and he fought some other person that came from another planet. And there's no true truth. It's all built in. Like you just did a story about Jimmy Hoffa. It's a true story. Did you take maybe some stuff and run with it a little bit? Probably. But a lot of it's all based on real characters, and you could play on that. It's a lot more interesting for some people. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Twitter, Instagram, Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
This is a family or a group of families that were traveling by convoy through northern Mexico. They lived there. They've lived there for a couple decades, and they were attacked by gunmen. We don't exactly know who it was. The family is blaming cartel members for the attack, but the Mexican government has confirmed that 9 people were killed. We believe that almost all of them, if not all of them, were American citizens. 3 adults, 6 children, and several children injured as well.
Yes. 5 total that are here in, I guess they've been flown to Phoenix hospitals or I'm still a little, again, stuff comes in. It's a situation that is awful, but you have a group of people who's, for generations, Mormons who have lived in this area, and lo and behold, today, traveling, just doing, or yesterday, just doing their thing, just cruising along in an area, though, that is controlled by the Sinaloa cartel. They've been there for a long time. They traveled in a group of 3 because they were worried about something like this. So you had 3 SUV-type vehicles ambushed, and it was the cartels. That's it. Cartels. They did it. Everybody knows they did it. My assumption is the people who did it are probably no longer on this planet as well because of the heat that it's bringing on the cartels. Mexico's having to answer some serious questions even before this about its policy of being kinder, gentler, kind of turning a blind eye, and essentially the Obrador's hugs, not bullets way that he's dealing with the cartels. It is a narco state. That's it. You got a narco state. I don't care what anybody says. You've got a narco state, and people are asking questions. Couldn't that happen here? Because what happened today was 3 women, 6 kids, including 2 twins, 6 months old, were killed. Think about that for just a moment. Changes a lot of things. This is the grandfather who took film after, and the car is virtually nothing. Bullet holes everywhere, and it's just got a little bit of fire in it, and the rest of it's ash.
This is for the record. Nita and 4 of my grandchildren are burnt and shot up.
You see it, you hear it, you're like, oh. That hits more than just some of the big city, or that's horrible. Other parts of the country going, well, we can't have that. Puts a different kind of face. When we see somebody who's on drug who dies, and we find out that it comes from south of the border, we look and say, you shouldn't have been taking drugs, right? Let's be real, right? You shouldn't have been taking drugs. You shouldn't have been doing this. Now, it's changed over the last couple of years because of the opioid epidemic and people thinking, I got a back injury. Next thing you know, you're hopped up and you lost everything and you're on. That's changed somewhat. Or the fentanyl that is flying through there and that is coming up here. And you got kids who are at a party and they take one and it gives a face that's a little bit different. This is kids burned to death and shot. Something different. President's pissed. Mexico they're having a nightmare right now in certain parts of the country. It's become narco states. Sonora, where this is, just 50 miles south of Douglas, Arizona. So this little area where they're at. But that Sinaloa cartel, they control everything. That's their state. You come and go as they please. Right? There's just certain places, government, we're not going there. And when they've stood up to the cartels in certain areas, they got their ass handed to them. Culiacan, a couple weeks ago, when they took El Chapo's kids, who then surrounded the army after one of them fought out because they still had his brother and basically were said, give him back his brother. Yeah, it is nasty. And that's a real problem. But this is a face. This is a face that's totally different. Cartels don't want any part of this. They want no part of this kind of stuff. Drugs are much different. Again, it's a number. It's nameless. It's faceless. It's people on the streets. This is a much different look. And there's going to be some serious questions. And I've talked to two people today who aren't big fans of Trump. But you know what they said to me? We can't have this. No. They're right across the border. Well, it's no big deal. It's right across the border. Imagine if ISIS lived next door. Yeah. These guys are worse than ISIS. Sinaloa cartel, we'd send them over there. And you want to see a battle? Go ahead. Los Zetas, knock yourself out. There's some bad MFers over there. And the things that they do, they're no joke. And we're having to ask ourselves over and over again about what we do with immigration and the border and all of this stuff. We need to start finding real solutions to these problems and try to come at it in a very analytical and real way, which is hard because it becomes emotional and everything turns everything into race. But the reality is it's closer than you think. And it's not just about what took place here, but there's also hundreds and thousands and well over 1 million people that have come here, and many of them are good people. They're just looking for a better opportunity at life because where they've come from, their governments have essentially either they're so corrupt or they've completely devolved to absolutely nothing outside of a big city. And they've got nothing, and they're living in a world of violence. And until we start figuring out how to deal with it in a real way, it's going to get worse. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. The race is on to get the best deal. Gordon Sondland, we'll talk about him in a second because he's done something. But Rudy, I continue to say Rudy is a problem for Trump because Rudy hang out with some people that, quite frankly, a little uncomfortable.
His lawyer told ABC News Lev Parnas is now ready to comply with the House impeachment inquiry. Parnas had been subpoenaed, and the attorney said defying it is not an appropriate course of action. The Ukraine-born, Florida-based businessman is said to have helped Rudy Giuliani in his effort to dig up dirt on Joe and Hunter Biden in Ukraine. At first, he resisted compliance with House Democrats, but changed his mind, in part, the lawyer said, because he was upset President Trump denied knowing who he was. Parnas and another Giuliani associate face criminal charges here in New York alleging campaign finance violations.
Yeah. So now he's willing to comply. Why? First one in gets the best deal. That's the reality of that. First one in gets the best deal. Gordon Sondland. Who's that? The guy, one of the original, this guy's testifying. He's the ambassador to the EU. He said one thing, but hold on a second. Maybe I got something else to say.
According to the deposition transcript for EU Ambassador Gordon Sondland, Sondland amended his testimony this week to say that he did tell a Ukrainian official that aid to Ukraine would be contingent on whether Ukraine would publicly announce it was investigating the president's political opponents. Sondland had previously testified he was unaware of any quid pro quo.
Yeah, now he's saying, well, yeah, there was, and it was kind of like, it was more than just implied, look, he's going to be impeached. I don't care what anybody says. He's not, like, at this point, we're in the air. We've passed that point where we've got enough fuel to make it back from whence we came. Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff are the pilots on this leg of the tour. But the other person who will be a pilot is a guy named Mitch McConnell. And they asked Mitch today if you had to vote today about removal.
If it were today, I don't think there's any question it would not lead to a removal.
What does that mean? Well, if you're the president, you got a smile on your face. Now, he did say if we had to vote today. Because based on the phone call, no. And that's what the Trump and everybody keeps saying. Well, it's the phone call. You guys saw the phone, the transcript. It's not about the phone call at this point in time. Remember color by numbers, right? Or you remember, you draw everything in and then, or you color by number. You had the thing where you go from 1 to 2, 3, and oh my God, look at the picture. That's what they're trying to do now, right? Right? They're trying to do certain things. I'm going to show you how I'm going to go from point A to point B, point B to point C, and finally get, all the way to the end. They're going to go through everything. G, and then they get, we're over here to X, and all of a sudden we're back to M. And then, but when all is said and done, they're going to say, look at the picture here. Abuse power. You've got a quid pro quo. You've got all of these things that have happened on this president's watch. It is enough to rise to high crimes and misdemeanors. Now, does that mean he's going to be ousted? No. But that's what they're trying to do. It wasn't just the phone call. It was the 50 other things between there and that phone call that was the crime. Because I know if you're just looking at the phone call, you're like, there's nothing to worry about, right? Right? There's nothing there that rises to that. Because, implied's not going to work here. But if along the way everybody said, before we got to that phone call, this, and this happened, all with the understanding that, and that military aid came with, you better do this or else. That's tough. Still don't know if they're going to vote him out. Still don't know if they'll convict him in the Senate. But that's what this is about now. It's not about the phone call. It's about everything else leading up to that. So we'll see. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Do a little what's trending straight ahead. But first, kids hiring can be a challenge. Codable co-founder Gretchen Hebner discovered. Why? Well, she went to hire a game artist. And my uncle and I have been there for that. She's got an education tech company, right? So she thought, this probably isn't going to be easy. Trust us, we know. So what did she do? She did the same thing we did. Went to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates find you. What does it do? It finds them. It's got this amazing technology. What it does is it goes out and finds the right experience, right? And the people that have that experience, it identifies all of them and then says, hey, why don't you apply for this job? Quality candidate. Right? She was super impressed. Gretchen was like, wow, this is awesome. ZipRecruiter's incredible. It got screening questions, filter out candidates so you know which one you can focus on the absolute best. Guess what? Within 2 weeks, she got her new game artist. You will love it. With results like that, it's no wonder 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See why ZipRecruiter is so effective for businesses of all sizes. This is what I want you to do. I want you to try ZipRecruiter for free. Now, go to our website, ZipRecruiter.com/Benson. That's ZipRecruiter.com/BENSON. Try it for free. ZipRecruiter.com/Benson. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. What's trending? Chad Benson Show.
Don't let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
That's me!
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending.
What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending?
I'm going to tell you guys right now what's trending. By the way, I just got a tweet from somebody, at Chad Benson. Why don't all other show hosts get it like you do? I'm like, whoa. I know they want to be loyal to the president, but shouldn't your loyalty be first to the USA? Oh, I absolutely agree. Right? If he's done something wrong, he needs to be removed. The problem is because of our tribalism, this goes to both sides of the aisle, because of that tribalism, it's hard to take which other side brings you something that says this is wrong, because it's all based in insane tribalism. And that's why. And, other hosts out there, I want a free-flowing, independent crowd that goes, I agree with you here and I disagree with you there. That's a good thing. That's a great thing. If everybody agrees with you, that's a cult. I'm just letting you guys know that. What is trending right now? Vote today. People are voting today in certain states. Stupid impeachment questions. Emma Watson, and the reason she's trending, wasn't she Hermione? I think that's what she was. Because she's single and she loves it. She is self-partnered. So that's trending. Self-partner is also trending. Oh, my God. People are insane. People are absolute. Little Mermaid Live. I don't know. Apparently it's going to be part cartoon and anything with John Stamos in. You've got me. Here's all the people who couldn't get on Dancing with the Stars. John Stamos. And other people that you may or may not have heard of. Oh, my Lord. Election Day is trending. Amy Robach is trending. Now, she's come out and she's talked about this. Normally when Veritas says anything or does anything, I don't pay any attention to it, right? Because I just think you can have 5 hours or something, edit down stuff and go, ha-ha! But she readily admits she was caught on a hot mic talking about the Epstein thing, mad at some of the stuff that didn't take place with the Epstein stuff and reporting that they did, and I get it.
The palace found out.
Now, remember, this she Good Morning America in 2020, so this is a real reporter. And again, she's addressed this today. It wasn't like something that she hasn't addressed and everybody's like, no, this is something she fully addressed.
I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton. We had everything.
And was killed. Now, she said, we needed to go deeper. We need to do better reporting and stuff like that. But the reality is if you think somebody like Weinstein can have stuff squashed and quashed, imagine what a financier worth $500 million to $1 billion who runs in the circle that includes royalty and the most powerful people that have ever existed on this planet can have killed. Like maybe even himself in jail. I'm just saying. You don't know. Brian Kilmeade joins us straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
He's familiar with most of you out there. And if you don't know who he is, he's a lot of things. Works at Fox. He does a radio show. He does everything, but he's also an author. He's got a new book out, Sam Houston and the Alamo Avengers. And Brian Kilmeade joins the show. You know what's interesting? Most people have no idea, Brian, about what took place after the Alamo. That's where their history stops. But you're bringing it to life. What took place actually after the Alamo?
Yeah, thanks so much. That is the key. I wouldn't do a book on the Alamo. I don't think I could do it and bring anything new to the table. But I thought if I can complete the story and tell you what led to it, I think I'd be serving a purpose. And like many of our listeners right now, I'm not from Texas. So I always thought that's their story, and they weren't part of America for another 9 years. So it's good to know, but it's not part of America. And the more I found out about it, and it was really by chance, it was a Fox Nation series stop, which I do What Made America Great on this brand new network that we have called Fox Nation. And I went into the Alamo. And then as I sat down and had lunch with all the experts who were helping us out for the piece, I realized how much more to this story there was and how this was really about America at the time. People who saw, okay, I'll go to the new country, but I would like a new country after the new country. Believe it or not, people were complaining about land prices and regulation back in 1800. And they were saying, well, if I go to Texas, I might be able to get a fresh start. And Stephen F. Austin's dad, Moses Austin, cut a deal. He was not able to see it for 300 families to go there. Most people thought, like Jefferson and Jackson, that we got Texas with the Louisiana Purchase. Controversial still today. And we decided to exchange it. We'll take Florida, give Spain Texas. Jackson was crazy about that. Jefferson never understood it. Monroe never understood it. And Jackson never accepted it. And Sam Houston was the guy that would deliver it.
Yeah, and he did. If you'd had Bill Belichick, though, we probably could have got a lot of stuff for a lot cheaper. I'm just letting everybody know that out there. Because
people wanted to play for a winner. That would be
exactly. So, Sam, the funny thing is like I said, we've talked. Everybody knows the Alamo. If you've never been to the Alamo, you need to get out and see it. And your first thing you notice when you get to the Alamo is, man, this thing's not very big, and it's crazy. But stuff happened after the Alamo, and Sam Houston it was the person that made it happen, because there goes Santa Anna. He does his things. They're fighting and battling, and lo and behold, here comes Sam Houston and some militia, and they're like, it's on now. And we're not talking about the settlers and some of those other people. We're here, and we're loaded for bear.
We are. If people want to know what we're about and where we're from 200 plus years later, it's a country that thrives on the ability to be successful or fail. We want a shot. We don't want it guaranteed. We want liberty and less regulation. And fundamentally, they went to Texas to get free of that. And they were willing to stay, the Texians at the time, were willing to stay a part of the Mexican Union, be a state of Mexico, because they had fought for their freedom. They got it. Santa Anna emerges as the leader and the general. But when Santa Anna takes over, he goes, my people aren't ready for liberty. And these people in Texas, they're going to get in line, or they're going to feel my wrath. And the people of Texas, just like in the movies, said, bring it on. Come and take it, when they came to take the cannons back. And, the Mexican government was not providing any services. They were not providing military protection. They were letting these settlers be a buffer towards the American Indians, who looked at the Mexicans as invaders. And the Mexican and the American Indians did not have a problem with Sam Houston. The Comanches and Cherokees cut their détente with the settlers at the time. And in turn, when they decided to clamp down on these settlers, they were ready to fight back. But they needed somebody with military experience to lead them. And it wouldn't be Stephen F. Austin. It would be Sam Houston. But people know the Alamo because the celebrities died there and the way they fought there. Davy Crockett, William Travis, everybody knows Jim Bowie. And they fought with valor, held it off for 13 days with 180 guys against 3,000. And that's why they're remembered. But they all died a brutal death. And their bodies were burned. And instead of them backing off and have the Texians quit and say, my goodness, we're in over our heads, that made them double down and remember the Alamo. The next massacre, the Goliad, same situation. They'd be duped and killed. And they'd say, remember Goliad, remember the Alamo. And Sam Houston knew, I have one fight to win or lose, and I'm going to shape the battlefield so I win. And he won in 18 minutes. And I try to tell the story how he did it.
Yeah, he won in 18 minutes and caught himself a little Santa Ana. And they're like, do you want him back? And it's crazy to think about it. But isn't it weird today? I was talking to Brian Kilmeade. His new book is Sam Houston and the Alamo Avengers. Isn't it wacky that we don't find out more about these things in history? Now, granted, these books are going to go much deeper than you would in school because you're trying to, just immerse yourself in everything as possible. But even as a kid, it just kind of got to the Alamo. You learn the story, and then it stops. And there's so much more to the story, yet we don't go any further after that. We just move on to something else, and that's insane.
Ben, when I laugh when people say to me, well, I'm not good in social studies, or I'm not good in history, or I don't like it. I say to myself, do you like stories? And they say, yeah. Do you like true stories? Yeah. Well, what if I told you that true stories about your country, and in many cases could be your relative, your ancestors? It tells you who defines who you are and why everyone wants to come here. And the best thing I get is when people are kind enough to come down and line up, whether it's an event or a signing. I never was into history. Now I am. Or my son or daughter, this is the first book they read. Or they want to meet you because they love history and they want to tell the story. Because I think there's a war in history right now. I never thought this history would be newsworthy. But the reason why it's in the news is everything I feared is that our history is under attack and they want to rewrite it. Now, I'm all for learning new stuff and get perspective, but I'm not going to diminish what our country is and the odds we defied to get where we are. The whole West wouldn't have opened without Sam Houston and what they did, what they sacrificed at the Alamo and what he did at San Jacinto. We don't look like the same country.
No. And he's a different character. Sam Houston was an interesting character because, he was voted governor, and then there's all these things that happened, and he had a battle within that once he became governor. I mean, it's just he led this very interesting, crazy life that you look back and you go, again, that's history. These are things that we should be learning about inside of our world of history. It's great to learn everything else. And I'm telling everybody, travel the world, immerse yourself in stuff, but also know where you come from.
Yes. And I think you should know, too, I'm not outlining perfect people, much like the people listening and less like the person talking like me. I'm not saying, look at these saint-like figures. He drank too much. There was a scandal, which we would laugh at now, where he got divorced in a matter of weeks. When he was governor of Tennessee, he had to leave in scandal. That's a scandal back then. And then he would go live with Indians, American Indians at the time, and reemerge. He drank so much, his nickname went from the Raven to the Big Drunk. And then he would work his way back, and he would get in trouble when he would beat another lawmaker up for saying disparaging things about him. Then it would be a major trial about him, and he would be censored, but he got famous again. And he took that fame and recognizability, and instead of trying to be governor of Tennessee again or president, because Jackson mentored him, he said, I'm going to Texas. And he thought there would be opportunity there. And there was. He ended up president of Texas, governor of Texas, senator from Texas.
Yeah, crazy. An amazing book called Sam Houston and the Alamo Avengers. Talking to Brian Kilmeade. Brian, a lot of craziness going on out there. We'll touch on this really quick because I'm more interested in the book and history because I just find that more fascinating. But can you look at parallels between the craziness back then and what we see today in this world of whack? We were just talking about a guy, again, who wasn't perfect and who is, but there is always a lot of parallels of going back and looking at history and saying, well, hold on a second. We had times back then were just as insane as we have today. We just didn't have social media.
True. I mean, can you imagine fighting a war and the north part of our country doesn't want to fight it? That's the War of 1812. Can you imagine fighting a war where hundreds of thousands of people die within our country? That's called the Civil War. Can you imagine living at a time in which a state decides, I'm going to secede? That's called South Carolina. And it was President Andrew Jackson said, not on my watch. Can you imagine a country that really came apart at the seams and then assassinated their president after that president won? That's trouble. If you look back at the 60s with the civil rights protests and the division of Vietnam and the assassination of MLK, JFK, RFK, Medgar Evers, and everything else that was happening then, that's a country in trouble. I look at today, we have a challenge. The last convulsions of racism, absolutely. The debate on race in our past, let's have it. You have a controversial president who's unorthodox, to say the least. But putting America first is not a new concept. Taking on the establishment, something that Jackson did off the top of the head, something like presidents did in the past. And we have this thing called elections, and there's regulations, and there's balance of powers, and we work our way through it. But I think part of our problem where people think we're coming apart is we do our fighting in public, everything our parents told us not to do. We fight in front of strangers, and we hash it out, but we come together when we have to. And I think this is a time in which people talk about polarization. I think it's going to be one man or woman who becomes president, and he's going to say it's soon going to becoming in fashion to cut deals and not be ideological pure, where you never cut a deal and you just go to kill the other guy and hope for the next election. I think soon things will smooth out that way. And, thankfully we don't have a war to divide us in the meantime.
Absolutely. The book is awesome. Sam Houston and the Alamo Avengers, Brian Kilmeade. You can get the book where good books are available, Amazon and everywhere else. Yeah, and go to Brian. If you just want to personalize, especially for the holidays, go to briankilmeade.com. And, Ben, wherever people listen to your show, if they want to find out where I'll be, if you go to my website, got a pretty extensive book tour. Every weekend I'm going to someplace extravagant. So hopefully I'll be able to see everybody in person at least once. Right on, my man. I appreciate you coming on today. I know you're busy, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much. Thanks, brother. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson. Get the book. And again, history. We don't know so much about history because we study just some of the big things. And nowadays, Brian's right, man, we're erasing history in all kinds of ways. And the beauty of it, this is what I love, is somebody like Sam Houston was a flawed person. There's so many people out there that are absolutely flawed. But what they did, how they did it, is amazing. And that is part of it. Their crazy genius, their drive, all of that stuff. Go read somebody like Churchill. Absolutely. They needed Churchill. Churchill saved Britain, and in many cases saved potentially Europe in itself. And yet, when all was said and done, so flawed that they didn't reelect him. That's the kind of stuff that makes me go, oh, I want to learn about that. Why was he the right person for that job? Sam Houston, the same thing. Basically saying, Texas, you guys aren't quite ready for this yet. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Don't let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
President Trump on Twitter this morning reacting to the murder of Americans in Mexico. Writing about the drug cartels there, the president offered to help Mexico in, quote, cleaning out these monsters, and added that Mexico, with American assistance, must, quote, wage war on the drug cartels and wipe them off the face of the earth. Mexican authorities say 9 people are dead, 3 women and 6 children, after a caravan of vehicles carrying Americans came under attack. The victims are part of a decades-old fundamentalist Mormon settlement in Sonora, Mexico, an area where drug violence is prevalent.
Yeah, we've been talking about it all day, and it is horrific. Kids are dead. Not just kids, little kids, babies are dead. Trump came out and said essentially, hey, Mexico, we'll help you take them on. We can worry about ISIS. Right? We worry about all those things, and we should keep our eyes on all the prizes, make sure certain things don't go sideways. The reality is, for some people living along the border in border states, you're dealing with something that is so much bigger than ISIS, that is killing far more people than ISIS could. Not just on the other side of the border, but also driving hundreds and thousands of people here. And on top of that, the things that they're producing and putting over here are killing us. And that's partially our fault because we like to consume. But I will tell you this right now. This is going to become a big issue. You have 9 people dead, including little twins, 6-month-old twins, a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old. This is going to become a bigger story. It was all over today. It's been trending today. Will Trump use it? Yes. And you know what? I've talked to a couple people today who just find Trump absolutely awful, especially when it comes to the border stuff. They don't mind his financial stuff and the way that he's gone the economy. But I will tell you this right now. They said, ugh, you can't have that. Mexico better figure something out. And I point back to 2 weeks ago in Culiacan in Mexico. a shootout that was so big that the army surrendered one of El Chapo's sons. Two sons were arrested. One fought with his bodyguards and whatnot and escaped. Then he regrouped in the center of a city, and he took on the army, and they finally had to surrender the other kid, his brother. This is big. They want no part of this. Let me tell you something today. There are people over there going, oh, my God, I can't believe it did this. But this will be news for the coming days, and this will be news on the campaign trail. Don't think it's not. Speaking of campaign trail, big elections going on today. And it's weird, you've got really several states having elections, but you got three big elections taking place today. Bevins in Kentucky, and you've got Reeves and Hood in Mississippi. It's an interesting thing to watch because last night Trump was in Kentucky, the way that they're doing all of this stuff. I'm telling you guys this right now. This is another one of those things where they're looking in to see, because does Trump have that kind of sway still? Does he have that kind of sway? I was talking to Mark Halper today, and just a very interesting guy. And he gets his new book's out. Very interesting book. Really interesting read on how to beat Trump. And some of the stuff they talk about, the strategists, they don't know because you've never done this. Last week, you watched the Patriots get beat. Patriots got beat by somebody they're not used to seeing, right? They're not used to. Like Lamar Jackson it's one of those things where he comes at you, he's fast, he's athletic, he does all of these things that you're not going to see anywhere else. And he probably can't produce it every single game, but he's so unique. Patriots, you watch Belichick, even though they're losing, he's taking stock because they will play again. The difference is the playbook's out there somewhat, but these are new people taking Trump on. And until you stand toe-to-toe with him and face it, it's tough. It's going to be very tough. Impeachment or not. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Super Beats. Take mine every day. Energy galore. Helps with my circulation, my heart health. What are you doing, kids? Grab yourself some Super Beats right now. Don't be foolish. Right now they got the soft chews. Get ready for this. Grapeseed extract comes from the Loire Valley in France. The Loire Valley. It is amazing. The taste is incredible. The convenience is awesome. And Beats helps with what? Heart health. Gives you great benefits. Circulation. Normal blood pressure. It helps support that. And natural energy in your body. It is absolutely fantastic. The taste is delicious. I love it. Convenience is amazing. Take it every single day, especially before my workouts. Now is your chance to get yours. So go to superbeatsradio.com/Chad. When you order 2 bags, they throw a third one in for free. That is superbeatsradio.com/Chad. Superbeatsradio.com/Chad. Try them. You will love them. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. I love hearing from each and every single one of you. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thought, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Authorities in Mexico say they've deployed members of their army, National Guard, and state police to investigate. The victims all left their community at the same time in 3 separate cars. Some were traveling back to the United States, some to the neighboring town of LeBaron for a wedding, when suddenly they were struck by a hail of gunfire so severe that one of the cars exploded.
Awful. Mexico is a mess. And I continue to try to tell people, we can worry about ISIS and we should keep our eye on the prize, right? Understand that there's things going on over there that could come absolutely undone fast. But along the border, Mexico is a mess. You have 9 U.S. citizens, 6 of them children, including 2 twins, 6 months old. It is horrific. Culiacan, just the middle of last month, a battle took place in the streets. A battle took place where it was army versus cartel, and at the end of the day, the army and the police bowed down. They're releasing big, higher-up cartel members. There are Sonora right there is a failed state. The Sinaloa cartel dominates. The Zetas dominate their area. It is absolutely awful. And what took place here has got people standing up going, oh, it's not just this. The drugs that are flowing in now and the amount of fentanyl in the pills and the things is terrifying. But listen to this. This is the grandfather. So you've got a Mormon-like enclave there, and they live just across the border here in Arizona. So they've been there for 10 years, right? One of them, so they've got 3 SUVs, I guess, passing through. One of them was coming to Phoenix to pick up her husband to celebrate a wedding anniversary. The other ones were going to a wedding or something. And they burned alive, some of them. And this is the grandfather who happened to get video afterwards, and you could just hear his voice.
This is for the record. Nita and 4 of my grandchildren are burnt and shot up.
In a video posted to Facebook, you can see the aftermath of the attack, the scorched SUV that apparently contained the burnt bodies of Maria Ronita Miller and 4 of her 7 children. It's unclear if they were specifically targeted. The victims reportedly all belong to a decades-old Mormon community based in northern Mexico. The youngest victims were twin babies, just 7 months old. Some of the children miraculously survived the ambush but sustained gunshot wounds. They were found by family members. Relatives say 5 remain in the hospital.
Yeah, they're here in Arizona. They were flown out, I guess, some of them. Trump's already saying, hey, do we need to come down there and take care of business? Failed narco state, it is. Mexico City is like being in Madrid or, in a big European country. You get outside of there, it is anything but. I was telling producer Anthony, where I live, a little bit rural, but it's a straight shot. You come out on my street, you make a right, you head into Phoenix. If you make a left, you can drive straight down to Mexico within about 2 hours to get to Rocky Point. I refuse to go there. Great fishing, great little town, so many people. I refuse to go there. I do. I've traveled enough in Mexico that I no longer feel that I want to anymore. My grandfather was born and raised there. He's from Mexico. I used to go down there all the time with him, and he won't even go down there anymore. He's like, no, I won't do it. The amount of violence, what is taking place there, is insane, and this is going to be another issue. Trump's already saying, maybe we need to help. You killed 9. I guarantee the Sinaloa cartel's going, uh-oh, that's something we don't want. If you die with our drugs, it's kind of like people look and go, well, you're a drug addict. That's your fault for taking drugs. And that's kind of the attitude a lot of people have at times. Let's be honest. But something like this makes people stand up and notice. I talked to 2 people today in our newsroom who, they're not in the news department, but they work here. And they are not never Trumpers, but when it comes to immigration, they can't stand him. And they said, we can't have this. They got to do something. This will be an issue. Immigration again. And you know that Trump's going to play it up. And guess what? At some point in time, Mexico's got to figure something out. Because what is taking place there, as close as it is to our border, you have a better chance of wandering around Kabul in an American flag than hanging out for a week in some of these border towns. You do. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. With all of that going on, today is election day. Big time here in America because everybody's looking. They're staring at what's happening. You've got governor races, in particular Mississippi and Kentucky, that potentially could be tight. You've got legislators going on in Virginia. There's a lot of things that are happening today. That Trump was out last night in Kentucky doing what Trump does, pulling for Bevins, the guy who's running for election to be governor there, and doing Trump stuff. But it shows you that there's still people are looking each and every time he gets out there what happens? Is he a help or is he a hindrance? Because people still don't know. In some areas, he's absolutely a help. In other areas, you're seeing some people saying, no. But every election seems to be a referendum on Trump in some way, shape, or form. And it'll be interesting. Interesting, too, last night, Rand Paul was on stage in Kentucky, obviously his home state, and talked about the whistleblower. And I just, you know what? You want anonymity. I understand that. And people say whistleblowers should have anonymity. Yes, they should. And we can do better. But we also live in a world, especially in a world that's as myopic and as just incestuous as D.C., you know it's coming out. And he talked about that.
We also now know the name of the whistleblower. The whistleblower needs to come before Congress as a material witness. I say tonight to the media, do your job and print his name.
No, and I'll tell you why. They should have some anonymity. Now, should certain people know? Yes. Do you have a right to face your accuser? You absolutely do. You should be able to. You should absolutely be able to face your accuser. I know the whistleblower reached out, and his attorney or her attorney, mostly his attorney, said that, hey, they'll answer by, in writing, any of the GOP questions. And as you all know, Trump did that. Well, Trump had the right to not. He didn't want to incriminate himself. He didn't want to get caught in some sort of they were looking for a trap. This is the accuser. Much different. Much different. So, again, this isn't going anywhere anytime soon. The impeachment thing is coming. It's coming. And whether people like it or not, it is what it is. But does it matter? I mean, does it resonate? I still don't think it resonates with the average person, which I think people are forgetting because of that myopic view that so many people in D.C. have, where they live in this little bubble and they think everything is about what they're talking about. And it's not. It's not.
How many of you think that Donald Trump should be impeached? 4, maybe 5.
We're seeing the evidence in real time almost.
It looks like a lot of abuse of power.
I think he's violated the law.
This independent voter who didn't vote for Trump in 2016 isn't quite ready to say Trump broke the law.
And I'm embarrassed that he's our president, but I'm not a lawyer, and I don't know if those things rise to the level of high crimes.
Yeah, which is what a lot of people say. Does it rise to the level of high crimes and misdemeanors, which is very vague, like you can make some stuff up. Now I'm seeing it's abuse of power. First it was this, then it was that. Now it's an abuse of power. They're trying. And the problem is, and I asked somebody this last night. I said, let me ask you a question. And a lot of this has to do with his personality, hence the reason why there's so much emotion in there when it comes to Trump. If Trump was liked, right? Let's say he wasn't inflammatory. Let's say he didn't throw and gaslight everybody. Let's just say he was an okay personality that wasn't despised by the other side. Maybe not as staunch as far as he was a little more flexible, not as just, and his base maybe wasn't so also fervent, but enjoyed him and liked who he was as a person. Would we be having this conversation about this? I don't think we would. So much of the disdain that people have for him and that emotion they have for him is the hate for the person he is. You could probably go back and look at a lot of different times presidents have abused or overstepped some sort of power. But we kind of go, does it really, do we really want that? Is that so? But because he's Trump, because they've looked at him in so many different ways, and their disdain for him is so strong, their hatred of who he is and what he, quote unquote, represents, which they still don't get, they're willing to go to the mat. His base isn't going anywhere. And if this was a person, if Trump was a person who was somewhat beloved or at least tolerated and not hated, and there wasn't too much emotion about who he is, we wouldn't be having this conversation about the Ukraine. We wouldn't be. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. That's some heavy stuff. How about we get some not so heavy stuff? Last night, football game. Kevin Harlan on the call. Monday Night Football. Westwood won. You've got Kurt Warner there with him. You got Kevin Harlan. You've got the Cowboys. And you got the Giants. Rivals, to say the least. Kevin Harlan, the consummate professional.
The other way, and so is it. There's a cat on. A black cat has taken the field. A black cat is running from the 20 to the near side, the 10. From the 39 in Dallas, here's a short throw down the middle, caught by Ingram. Caught at the 35, went to the 30. Now the cat running the other way, and so is Ingram at the 30 to the 25 to the 24-yard line of the Dallas Cowboys.
What I love is, and Phil and I were talking about this, he's announcing a play and at the same time announcing the cat at the other end of the field doing what the cat does. What I like, though, is he tied in his sponsor, which is fantastic.
Who brought the cat? He's walking to the 3. He's at the 2. And the cat is in the CDW red zone. CDW, people who get it now, a policeman, a state trooper has come on the field, and the cat runs into the end zone. That is a touchdown.
It's worth everything. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Raycons, man, love them. Love my Raycons. Every single day I wear my Raycons when I'm rocking out, when I'm playing soccer, no matter what I'm doing. I got my Raycons in because I love to listen to audiobooks and all this stuff. It's just amazing. The E25s are brand new ones. They have more. I mean, you plug them in, you get 6 hours of battery time when it comes to talking, listening to music, whatever it is. Better bass, better sound quality, better fit, more custom than ever before. Snoop Dogg swears by him. Cardi B swears by him. Because when Ray J put them together, here's a guy's an entrepreneur and musician. He said, hey, I'm about sound. I want you guys to listen. You tell me what you think. They fell in love with them. You will too. No wires, no stems, none of that crap. It is amazing. It's Christmas time too, right? We're not too far away from it. And you're thinking to yourself, what can I get the people that got everything? Don't spend tons of money on, quite frankly, stuff that's built more to look like something that, oh, did you buy those? And the quality is not very good. Raycons are better looking, better fit, better sound. Get yours now. Half the price of all those other ones out there. And in many cases, a lot less than that. And you're going to save 15%. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. 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 It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, where we reach across the aisle and occasionally poke someone in the eye.
So we're getting out of the Paris Climate Accord. Listen, scientists are calling now for fewer people, population control. That's it. 50 years ago, they got together and started talking about the CO2 climate problem and the reliance on fossil fuels, and eventually helped trigger the oil crisis. You guys remember that when you were kids? Some of you a little bit older, maybe were driving, odd days, even days, depending on, what days you get your car filled up, this, that, and the other. Now you got a large group of scientists who are sounding another much more urgent alarm right now. 11,000 experts from around the world are calling for a critical addition to the main strategy of dumping fossil fuels and renewable energy. There needs to be fewer people on the planet. They call for policymakers to quickly implement a system to not only change energy, food, and economic policies, control, but they want to go one step further into the politically fraught territory of population control. It must be stabilized. Must be stabilized. Really? Is that what we're doing? We're stabilizing it? People ask me, do I believe in climate control? Yes, I do. I believe that man has contributed. I believe that nature also plays a part in it. Because you can go back throughout history and look and see that there's been times when we've popped and we've got colder. And that can't be blamed on fossil fuels and a lot of other stuff. So I believe that there is a ton of blame to go around. Some of it's just nature. We want to take better care. But I also realize that we live in a world and in a day and age when we want all of this stuff, but we want other people to pay for it. So when you go look at polls and you look at and you read articles and you see study after study after study, we're saying where it's easy to go, I want to save a panda bear, I want to save a polar bear, I want to save a penguin, I want to save this. And then when they say, how much are you willing to contribute yearly? They're like $100, $50, $175. If that's how far people want to do some tweets, they want to feel good about themselves, right? And at the same time, they're only willing to go so far. As long as somebody else is picking up the bill, we're totally fine with it. Yeah, go full throttle. But you got to pay part of it? I'll think about that. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Epstein, did he kill himself? That's the poll question. We're going to talk about that because it's just some of the stuff is hilarious. And look, do I 100% think he died at his own hands? I'm not 95% sure he did. Doesn't mean that he wasn't coaxed, if you will. But some of the stuff is hilarious. You can take the poll at Chad Benson Show. We'll talk about that. More on what took place in Mexico, which is absolutely horrible. And teachers, kids, teachers. I asked the question, how many bad teachers are there? And what were you thinking? Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
These cartels really operate with impunity in large parts of Mexico. We've seen the death toll spiral throughout that country, ordinary Mexicans getting caught up in the violence. And so this new government has actually tried a little bit more of a hands-off approach where they don't want this bloodshed in the streets, but it's obviously controversial because the death toll continues to climb.
So that's your approach? We're not going to do anything. Let's let it go. That's a perfect approach, right? Let's not do anything. And I understand, right? They're trying to figure, because here's the thing. There's a way to deal with it, and there's a way not to. Right? It's kind of like the homeless thing. Right? So you got all these people who are homeless, and 80, 90% of them are drug addicts, and mentally they're fried for whatever reason. Maybe some of it is the drugs have taken them there, and for a lot of them, it's other things. We know what we need to do, but we'll try a bunch of other crap. Mexico understands we got to get serious, but we don't want the bloodshed. We don't. So instead what they do is they allow the bloodshed to happen and they turn a blind eye. And then innocent people die, like the 9 U.S. citizens that were killed today. And think about this. For the 9 that were killed today, how many are going to die over here because they've taken drugs that have come up through Mexico? On top of that, more than 9. It's a mess. And Mexico doesn't know what to do. Trump said today, hey, if you guys need help, a little military help, taken on, we'll help you. But you got to do something. They need to. It is a failed state. Sonora is it is a mess. Any of these cities along the border are just a mess. It is ugly. It is nasty. And you understand why people come here and escape not only there, but you look at El Salvador and Honduras and not so much Guatemala, but you look at the other ones. You look and you get it, MS-13 and it's just, it is absolutely awful. And what took place, again, when you start killing kids, it changes people's thoughts. When I was down we're at McAllen down there, and we're on the Rio Grande, and we're hanging out with the Border Patrol, and they were telling us, I'm down there with my people from my station down there, KURV, and we're hanging out and we're talking and it's Sergio is introducing me all the guys and we're chatting and we start talking about like why don't they engage you guys? And they're like, they don't want to do that because they know what the press is like if something goes, right? The minute something happens, and I don't know if it's this killing here, but the minute it starts to feel like it touches not just the people that live in the border states, but potentially middle America and some of these other places where it feels like you could be reached, everything changes. And that's true. And this was ugly, what took place. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. So I've got a poll up. We switch gears here about Epstein. Now, I will say this, right? Look, here's a guy, Jeffrey Epstein, worth hundreds of millions of dollars, who is a notorious sex offender, pedophile, who knows he's going to jail for the rest of his life and then longer. And mysteriously, he dies in jail. And I said, do you think Epstein's death was a suicide or was he murdered? 11% say suicide. 79% say murdered. 2% say suicide or else. And by that, I mean, it's like one of those things where they'll put a gun inside somebody's cell with one bullet. Like, you can do it yourself. Like, not so much that, but was he essentially told, hey, you do your part in this, and everything else, as far as your money and all this stuff, we'll make it all go away, and your family the whole night. We'll. And 7% say unsure. But it's just not going anywhere. It's not. Is not. Like producer Phil, that was the Molson. You sent me that thing over the weekend. That was the Molson Wikipedia page that goes through all the beers and where they distribute and da-da-da-da. And at the end of it says Epstein wasn't murdered, which was hilarious.
Hysterical. They've changed it back now.
Yeah, but that was hilarious, right? It was. So this is a guy talking about the service dogs, which I find, so this guy's on Fox talking about service dogs and the dog, about the dog that took place in the raid of al-Baghdadi and service dogs itself. And this is so funny.
If I could I throw a PSA out real quick?
Real quick.
The remarkable nature of these dogs and them being highlighted in the news creates a huge demand by people that frankly shouldn't have them. If you see the coverage and you decide I want one of these dogs, either buy a fully trained dog from a professional or just don't get one at all. And Epstein didn't kill himself.
Okay. Thank you for that commentary. All right.
Which I thought was funny, right? Project Veritas, which I rarely cite, I don't care about any of that stuff. I think a lot of it, you can just edit the hell out of stuff. This was something that was actually addressed. This came out a little while ago today. This is Amy Robach. She hosts 2020. She's Good Morning America co-host, talking in what she thought was somewhat of a private-ish conversation about the entire Epstein thing.
I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton. We had everything.
Everything. And she says, well, she came out and addressed the issue today, saying that our journalism needs to be better. We need to be more buttoned up. But she at least addressed the fact that they've essentially killed the story. So is it wrong to ask a question? No. Do I think it's funny? Yes, it's become more of a meme kind of funny thing. But do I believe that he killed himself? Yes. Do I believe that powers that be made that happen? I think more incompetence allowed that to happen than anything else, right? You had more Barney Fife in there. You had backups to the backups that were in there. Could it have been arranged? Yeah. Could he have been murdered? I'm not going to rule it out. You had the autopsy done, a private, independent, third-party autopsy, who said, this is all the hallmarks of somebody being murdered. Trevor Noah, though, talking to Hillary.
Hillary, I have to ask you a question that has been plaguing me for a while. How did you kill Jeffrey Epstein? Because you're not in power, but you have all the power. Because you seem to be behind everything nefarious, and yet you do not use it to become president. What is the game plan?
Honestly, I don't know what I ever did to get them so upset.
Well, let's be real, right? You have a lot of friends who have, how should we say this? There's a lot of people that you've come in contact with that's more than just driving by them on a street that have met untimely ends. It's fair to say. All right. I'm throwing that out there. So I understand that, but I do find it funny. And that whole, everywhere I looked, you'll go and you'll look at something and go, oh, here's an interesting fact. And you'll start reading about it. And at the end of it says, and Epstein didn't kill himself. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. I love hearing from each and every single one of you. You know what else I like? AMAC. Awesome company I've been working with. Fastest grow over 50 organization in the country. You know, with all the talk right now of Medicare for all and single payer and all this stuff, AMAC's out fighting for you. Why? Because you worked hard. You paid into Social Security. You paid into Medicare. That stuff you deserve. They want to make sure it's solvent. 8 years. Medicare could go away. They could go bankrupt 8 years. Social Security? Many of you now, just over 50, you're looking around thinking to myself, I'm paying into it, but I know I'm not getting any of it. They're fighting for you, as well as common sense immigration reform and so many other things. Plus, their benefits are absolutely amazing. Retail, restaurant, travel, insurance discounts, you name it, they've got it. Discounts to great things like amusement parks, huge discounts, 50% off movie tickets, and so much more. Right now, the price is perfect. It's free. Free, free, free. Join today for free. It's 1 year. It's on me. amac.us/Chad. That's amac.us/Chad or call 888-355-1617. 888-355-1617 or amac.us/Chad. It's 1 year. It's free. It's on me. AMAC is better. Better for you. Better for America. It's the Chad Benson Show.
I can't take it anymore!
Well, get over it. It's time to forge a new path with your very own political cartographer, Chad.
Nigeria has never submitted a movie for Best International Feature Film Oscar until now.
If we have to fight this war, we have to fight it together.
The movie Lionheart is about family and business and changing gender roles, and almost 90% of the dialogue's in English, the official language of Nigeria, a former British colony. Academy rules state that an international film must be predominantly non-English, so Lionheart can't compete. That provoked anger on social media. Director and star Genevieve Nnaji writing on Twitter that we did not choose who colonized us, and the film is proudly Nigerian. Lionheart could still be eligible for a Best Picture Oscar, just not in the foreign film category.
Why don't you just say that? Instead of foreign, say English speaking. That way everybody knows the rules. To me, a foreign film is made in another country. Right? If we're going to do the Oscars, foreign film is made in another country. If you say English speaking only, people get it. Right? Sans Canada and Great Britain, right? Like in Australia. I mean, like that's. But if you're in Africa and you make a film and you happen to have English as your first language, I think they should allow it. And I'm sure there'll be racism. Kurt Suzuki and Trump probably did that. Kurt Suzuki told everybody, he's like, dude, it's the president. It was awesome. He gave me a hat. I thought it was cool. Everybody needs to calm down. He puts a hat on and watching people. So here you got a guy who played a hell of a series, who is just, one of the engines that can for the world champion Washington Nationals. He's there. He puts a Make America Great hat on, and people take him to task. And he gets a weird hug. Did you see the weird hug from Trump? It was totally awkward. It's like, behind hug. Awkward. Just so stupid. Speaking of stupid, where do we start with this? I don't know where we start in a situation like this, but let's start with the teacher that thinks this was a good idea.
Video posted to Twitter appears to show a teacher in front of the class rapping out a lesson in blackface.
Millions of people, not enough to eat. What will we do? With AI, Microsoft technology, the future is up to you.
This apparently happened at Milpitas High School back on Halloween. The person who posted the video wrote that the educator is white.
Yes. And an idiot. Just for showing up. And you know what I've started to realize? It's it can't happen to me, right? It can't happen to me. Like, I'm one of the good ones, right? I'm one of the good people, right? Like, they'll get it. It can't happen to me. Like, my kids know that I'm cool. So me doing this, I'm paying homage to Common, who he was trying to pretend to be. So it just can't happen to me. No, it can happen to you, and you're an idiot. You showing up in blackface at school should automatically disqualify you from ever teaching kids again because you're an idiot. Now, if in some way, shape, or form you have been locked away somewhere far, far away and managed to get your degree, right, pass all the necessary things that you had to do to get your license to teach, but you've followed no social media, you know nothing of what's taken place in the woke world over the last umpteen years, then we will give you a pass. If for any way, shape, or form that is not what you have done, then you need to go. Then we have this.
In the middle of Creekside Elementary's Halloween parade, one costume immediately stood out.
He was clearly Hitler.
Parents say the boy appeared to be wearing Nazi gear, complete with a swastika on his armband, and he was doing the Nazi salute. KSL elected to blur the swastika because it's considered a symbol of hate.
Did you guys know it was considered a symbol of hate? Yes. So a kid shows up, right? Not much older than Jack, my son, 9. Dressed as Adolf Hitler. The mustache, the whole 9 yards. The whole 9 yards. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? But he got to do the trick-or-treat little walk parade, which is insane. Like, the teacher didn't go, hey, you need to come here. We're going to have a talk.
They're not even taught about the Holocaust yet at that age.
This mom, who asked not to be identified for the safety of her family, was in disbelief.
What made me angry and sad, I guess.
She says somebody should have stepped in before this happened.
There was probably a lot of people that he went past that did not address the issue prior to him marching through the school.
Yeah, now the teacher and the principal have been suspended. And apparently when the parents came in, there was this thing where they're trying to say, well, he's Charlie Chaplin. I'm sorry. The Great Dictator is a movie Charlie Chaplin did where he portrayed, yes, Hitler as a buffoon in the whole 9 yards. No, sorry. Other people were saying he was doing the Hitler salute at like recess and he was throwing things at other kids. He's learning that somewhere, right? But as a teacher, you grab that kid and you say, no. Little Adolf here is going to sit in the office and mom and dad are going to come here and we're going to have a discussion. It's not, this will be a teaching moment. Oh, my God. They teach kids, by the way. I'm just letting you guys know that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Crazy day. What went on in Mexico? 9 people, American citizens being killed, including 2 6 or 7 month old twins. And then on top of that, you've got Gordon Sondland, who's updating his testimony. And he is, let me tell you something, what he's saying is not a good thing. Here's a guy who's come out, part of this whole Ukrainian thing, and said, yes, when he talked to the officials and the people in the Ukraine, including the president, he essentially said, I made it known there was a quid pro quo. If you want military aid, you will do what President Trump wants and investigate. That is not good. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.